Am I the asshole for leaving dinner to get my son McDonald's, even though food was served? A friend of my wife's invited my family, my wife, our son, and I over for dinner with him and his daughter. As long as we've known him, this friend has kept to a very strict diet, which has almost always led to us eating over at his place. But he is an excellent cook, so I've never minded. We have not, however, seen him since both of our children were infants. For dinner, we were served salmon with quinoa and arugula. My son is very mild for a 5-year-old. He throws tantrums very rarely and is the opposite of a picky eater. But I could tell from how he was acting that he was not vibing with this meal. He was picking at his plate, shuffling food, and while he did try the salmon, he didn't seem to like it. I asked him if he was happy with his dinner and he said no. He wasn't. I basically said, haha, kids, right? And asked if there was anything else for my son to eat. My wife's friend said that his daughter just eats whatever he makes, so he doesn't keep kid food around the house. My wife said it was fine. Our son would be fine. While he is a mild kid, he definitely gets hangry, and this was the beginning of our night. So we anticipated being there for an additional hour or two. I said that our son needed to eat so he'd have energy to play and apologized, saying I'd be gone for just a few minutes, picking something up for our kid. My wife's friend seemed irked, but said he'd try and keep my plate warm. I was gone for about 30 minutes. Came back with a happy meal, ordered extra fries in case his daughter wanted any, which she was not allowed to have. By the time I was back, dinner was winding down. My son ate his meal. We had dessert, and he went off to play with his friend. It was definitely a hiccup in the night, but things went fine. We had a good time. But my wife was definitely cold with me. When we got home 3 hours after dinner, she told me that I was an ass at dinner for no reason. I pointed out that if I hadn't gotten our son dinner, he would have been a monster the entire way home. To which she replied that we would have left earlier. I said I was just looking to solve the problem as it happened, and that if her friend had been more accommodating, we wouldn't have been in the situation in the first place. She got offended on his behalf, and we decided to just go to bed because we clearly were not getting anywhere. It's been 2 days since. Things are still stilted between us, and I'm not sure where I went wrong. Am I the asshole for leaving dinner to get my son food, even though dinner was served? You're the asshole in the middle of eating. You left. He had some bites and could have waited 30 minutes for you and wife to finish the meal. You're the asshole. You were at dinner at friend's house. You left mid-dinner and went and got McDonald's. Not only that, but brought it back for their daughter to eat as well. You cannot be this clueless. I'm completely open-minded, but if you pulled this at my house, you wouldn't be coming back. You're the asshole. That was really rude, especially because they had a kid and you brought an obvious treat food into the house. If your kid is picky, bring granola bars along with you or something. And if you fail to do so, just handle it as it comes the way your wife suggested. If your kid was going to be a monster, you could have left early and stopped at McDonald's on the way home. And your kid wasn't even complaining. And there was dessert coming, you way overreacted. You're the asshole. That was extremely rude. And rubbed salt in it, bringing fries for a kid you reasonably should know isn't allowed them. In the future you should just keep a small box of nuts, raisins, jerky, and or crackers in your vehicle or purse when going over there. You're the asshole. Kids are going to be picky eaters. But at the same time your son is going to be able to survive if he eats dinner later than normal. And leaving to get McDonald's in the middle of a meal at someone's house is very rude. Yes. You're the asshole. It was rude. Part of having kids is dealing with them when they aren't getting their way. My 5-year-old gets hangry too, but we've never up and left or buy dinner after someone else made us a nice meal in their home. I assume your friend wouldn't remember several years down the road if your 5-year-old had a rough time short of like breaking things or hurting the other child, but I guarantee your friend will remember when the food they gave you was ignored so you could leave and get McDonald's. Your kid wasn't even misbehaving. If he was, you say, "Hey kiddo, if you can tough it out and be on your best behavior, we'll get a happy meal on the way home." Also, I learned to love salmon as a kid. It's still my favorite food. You're the asshole. You're the asshole. Your kid wasn't going to starve. Worst case scenario, you could have slipped out after dinner to a grocery store and picked up some healthy snacks and left the dinner a bit earlier if needed to do a dinner at home. Parents teach their children acceptable behavior. You are teaching your child that if they're not happy with a dinner or whatever else that they are, number 1, activities will be halted by at least one person for them and they will be catered to no matter how rude it was towards the hosts for you to up and leave for 30 minutes. You're the asshole. You are not teaching your son to have good manners. My husband is a very healthy eater and some nights we eat like this. But when we have company coming we make the exception and try to ask our guests ahead of time if they think their kid will eat what we are making. It's rude of the host to cook something like this for a kid and not try to accommodate them just a little. Maybe a side of potatoes or broccoli with cheese. They shouldn't be imposing their strict restrictions on their friends without telling them beforehand what the dinner will be. You're the asshole. I know it's a child, but still. Someone makes a meal for your family. You're expected to eat it. That's how kids learn manners and to try new things. I feel it's rude to leave to get something else to eat for your son while everyone else is eating. Also, the guy's daughter not being able to eat fast food and having to watch your son eat it in front of her seems rude. Poor girl is missing out on the nugs. Did you not like the meal either? I'm just guessing since how you described the food and jumping up so quick to get your son food. Did you get some McDonald's too? Just curious. You're the asshole. I think the hosts were odd not to come up with an apple or something. They aren't required to keep frozen nuggets on hand for kids. But surely there was something they could have offered. Completely crazy to leave during dinner. Though. You're the asshole. It sounds like you didn't even bother to ask what was the menu. You literally left in the middle of dinner to get different meal for your child. Literally could have asked the hosts, "Do you have anything that my son can eat?" It seems like he doesn't care for salmon. You're the asshole as you know your friend adheres to very strict diet issues. So you knew in advance. It might be something your son didn't like. Would have been better to ask in advance or bring something for your son for a snack. I cannot stand salmon, so I have to admit I would have had issues with that dinner. I suppose I would have waited till dinner was over, visited for a respectful amount of time, then scooted off to the nearest restaurant. Unpopular opinion. Not the asshole. Restricting food from your kid when you know he will be hungry and upset just so your wife and her friends will be happy is not okay. I'm glad you listened to your kid and what he wanted in the moment. Someone with an eating disorder. You're the asshole and rude. Get some manners, dude. Am I the asshole? Left wallet in best friend's car. She's mad because I had my cards cancelled. Sir, I left my wallet in my best friend's car over the weekend. Every time we set a time to meet, she cancels, changes the time, or has an excuse as to why she can't meet for me to get my wallet. I offered to go to her house, but she's never home. Sir, I told her I'm just going to have my debit card and the other cards I have in my car wallet cancelled and or reported as stolen. She flipped her shit and told me I'm a bitch and an asshole for doing that, and that it shows how bad of a friend I am for not trusting her, and how I'm bullying her by treating her like a theft and criminal. Not the asshole. If I had a friend react like this, my first assumption would be they're trying to steal from me. Red flags. Cancel your cards. Please check your online records for the transactions. Not the asshole. Overreaction on her part about you cancelling your cards. She shouldn't hold on to your identity and cards for so long. You should cancel and report losing your wallet. I would also like to add, she said I was bullying her by having my cards cancelled, and if I was a real friend I would have never done such a thing to her. Not the asshole, but you need to ask yourself if a best friend really treats someone the way she treated you. What you did was reasonable. What she fails to see is that you were actually protecting her. Ask her, was she maybe overreacting to the word stolen? Reporting the cards as lost instead of stolen would have been a better option. Not the asshole. X200B, are you sure you left your wallet? Her reaction is suspicious. You sure you left the wallet in her car as opposed to her taking the wallet? Not the asshole. Make sure you're watching your accounts closely and report any fraudulent charges to the bank or creditor immediately. You're not bullying her. You're not treating her like a thief or criminal. You're being smart. If my friend got so bent out of shape that I was cancelling my debit card that was in their possession and pulled this shit, I'd be wondering what their motive was. Add to all this her reluctance in meeting up with you to retrieve your wallet and its contents. The math isn't adding up. Not the asshole, and move fast. I hope you didn't have any cash in that wallet. If so, I bet it's all gone. Tell her this. I don't know why you are getting upset. I have to cancel them so I can get replacements ASAP. Because I need my cards and it doesn't seem to be a priority to you to get them back to me. It's the only way to get new ones. Not the asshole. Bit of an overreaction on her part. This has no bearing on her. And really it's her fault for being so flippant about meeting you. Not the asshole. She's either a thief or a crazy person. Find a new best friend. Not the asshole. Obviously. I'm also confused as to why so many folks on Am I the Asshole have terrible friends. Info. Have you checked your online statements to make sure she isn't using them? Also, freeze your credit. She may be trying to steal your identity. Not the asshole. Not the asshole. Did you leave your wallet, or did she hide your wallet so couldn't see when you left? Not the asshole. You need your cards to get stuff done. You can't wait around on someone to get them because bills need to paid. Or you need gas or other things. If she got that mad, then she was trying to find a way to use them without getting caught. Not the asshole. Your friend is toxic. Be careful. This has nothing to do with her possibly using or thinking of using your cards. She basically paralyzed you and passively controlled you. Either consciously or not. Be very, very careful. This kind of people drain your energy and attention. Not the asshole. You aren't even saying she's using, just that you can't use them because they are in her car. Since she won't meet up, you need to cancel them to get new ones. Her reaction makes her look guilty. Not the asshole. Check your balances. Not the asshole. I'm assuming she also had access to your driver's license while she had the wallet. Cancel the cards. Lock your credit. Find a new friend. Absolutely not the asshole. She's passive-aggressively causing you unneeded stress. A true friend would make it a priority to return your property to you. Call your bank. Check for dispute unauthorized transactions. Cancel those cards. Order new ones, and while you're at it, order new friends, cause she ain't one. Not the asshole. Sounds like she already has been making plans for your $. Check your accounts. I'd rethink that friendship. How did this become all about her? Not the asshole, but if you think you can trust her, then it might not be worth the inconvenience. But it's your wallet. Surely she can make an effort to allow you to get it back. Have you checked your card's balances? Not the asshole. The way she reacted puts me off. The way she was avoiding you was also sketchy. Good job for the quick thinking and canceling your cards. Not the asshole. Your friend's actions are fishy as all hell. But I would just have cancelled the cards without telling the friend. Not the asshole. Also not in any way bullying. It's just common sense to do that in this day and age. She's not going to take care of your stuff the same way you would. So a much higher chance of them becoming lost or stolen. Also, no true friend would keep another's wallet for days. I would literally get up in the middle of the night and drive to a friend's, or honestly anyone's, house to give them back their wallet. Because our cards are our life now. Not the asshole. You didn't even need to tell her you were canceling the cards. Nothing you did affects her unless she is using or planning on using these cards. Have you checked the online activity lately? It's also possible she was going to continue to evade giving your wallet back until you forgot about it, then start using the cards or something. It just seems so odd she's upset that you are taking steps to protect yourself. Also, you're ensuring you get new cards sooner. Does she just expect you to live without being able to purchase anything? This doesn't make any sense. Not the asshole. It's your money and it's not in your possession. That's literally all that matters. You need to do what makes you feel comfortable. Not the asshole. I dropped my card in the parking lot for 10 minutes and found it. But I still cancelled on the off chance someone decided to take a picture and walk away. When you lose a card, it is best to cancel it. Even if you think you know where it is. You never know what happened to the card when it wasn't in your possession. All shit about your crappy friend aside. Even if you trusted her completely and this was all true, you'd eventually have to do that anyway so you could get a new card. She's not giving it to you, so you need to cancel them and get replacements ASAP. That's not even personal, it's just logical. Not the asshole. Cancel the cards, then cancel her. I've never experienced something like this from my worst friends. Not the asshole. If she was a good friend, you would have gotten it back the same day. You are being responsible. And she is offended. That's not normal. I can put a block on mine and take it off when I want. I'd have blocked it and waited to see if she tried. Jesus. Thank God you caught her first. Am I the asshole for secretly paying my daughter's tuition? My wife Diana is a lawyer and so is her father, brother and uncles. They take pride in this and it is sometimes referred to as the family occupation. I am 48 and Diana is 47. Diana wants our children to go law school and become lawyers, just like her. We have 3 children: Debbie, Mark and Alice. Debbie is in law school and Mark has been accepted into one. Alice doesn't want to go law school nor become a lawyer. She wants to go to art school instead. My wife isn't happy about this and they got into a fight. Diana told Alice that she should pay for her own education. I told Diana that this is ridiculous and that Alice can't pay on her own. Diana wouldn't budge. Diana earns slightly more than I do and we each pay into a joint account for any and all household expenses. What is left over we put on our individual accounts. We are generally free to do with this money as we please. But we have one rule. For very big expenditures we would ask the other before spending it. We also put money into 3 college funds for our children. And we are paying for Abby and Mark from these funds. After their fight, I told Alice that if she really wants to go, she should apply for art school and I would pay for it out of my individual account. She did and was accepted. After their fight, their relationship deteriorated and they weren't talking. Only yesterday did Diana find out that Alice is going to art school and that I am paying for it. She then got mad at me for breaking our promise of discussing big expenditures first, then she called me an asshole. I did break our promise but did it for our daughter. Am I the asshole? Not the asshole. Your daughter will never forget what you have done for her and the way you supported her dreams. Your wife is wrong and controlling. Also, it's fine for the big expenditure to go toward law school, which is no doubt more expensive. But it's not okay to spend it on art school. The real reason she's angry is that you took the power away from her to be spiteful to your daughter. Her bark has lost its bite. Not the asshole. Your wife is insufferable. Nothing but the law is acceptable. What a snob. You have a 529 you aren't even allowed to access for Alice. No. Your wife has no right then to say you have to discuss with her. You have an account you've both paid into with a defined purpose. Alice's college. That she's forbidding you and Alice to use. Geez, I really hate your wife. Info: what happened to the money earmarked for her education? If she isn't allowed to use it for her education? Not the asshole. You both have put into college funds for your children. There were no required subjects when you set him up. You shouldn't need to pay for Alice's schooling out of your individual funds. The college fund is a shared fund for her and she should be able to use it for college. At most, your wife could encourage your daughter to double major in art and something more likely to get her a career. But anything more and she is being too controlling. And she is trying to control your finances as well. Definitely not the asshole. Your wife needs to understand that not all her children are going to want to be like her. Each child has his or her own ambitions and dreams. And you recognized that in Alice and are supporting her. It's also unfair to Alice that Diana is openly supporting her other 2 children. But not the black sheep in the family. Diana is the selfish R for trying to force a career on someone who isn't interested. What you're doing is helping your daughter. Unlike what Diana is doing. Not the asshole. Not the asshole, but your wife is a massive one. What you do for one kid you should do for all. Also, forcing a kid to go to law school when they don't want to be a lawyer is a huge waste of money. Ask your wife if she wants her kid to be miserable simply to appease her own ego. Not the asshole, but you should stand a firmer ground on this one. How about daughter agrees to become a miserable lawyer if mother agrees to become a miserable artist or even take an art class? I'm willing to bet she would not appreciate being forced into something she didn't love for the rest of her life. So forcing that on your daughter screams everything is about me and what I want. Even if it means my own child being miserable. Not the asshole. IMO. Supporting your child trumps this specific promise to your spouse. Not the asshole. You would be a bad parent for not paying. Your wife is tar. Not the asshole. You can't force your child into doing things they hate. That usually doesn't end well. Good for you supporting your daughter in what she wants to do. Not the asshole. Parents like Diana need to learn that kids aren't extensions of them. They're their own entire human beings. Not the asshole, but you married one. Not the asshole. Imagine being so far up your own ass you would force your children to live a life they do not want and basically lose their own individuality. Your wife is doing a terrible thing. I hope you can find a way to make her realize this mistake. Therapy maybe. You both set up college funds for your children. Your wife arbitrarily made a decision not to use the funds as planned. Because she was being unreasonable and apparently irrational. Which is a bad look on a lawyer. You chose to fulfill the implied promise of the college fund account without it being a burden on your wife. Not the asshole. Not the asshole, but how can your wife withhold the education fund for your daughter without your approval? It seems that if you both contributed to the fund, then you should both have a say in how it is used. Not the asshole for encouraging your daughter to go her own route and find a profession that is right for her. However, you need to have a serious talk with your wife about supporting your daughter. Not standing up for her to use her own education fund and then paying behind her back. Rather than being upfront and letting her know. Shows some serious issues in the relationship. Not the asshole. Diana is being completely unreasonable and controlling. With your level of income, parents are expected to pay or she'd require you to co-sign her loans. There's no way Alice could afford to pay on her own. What's more, what's the point of forcing someone through law school? Why doesn't Diana just set her money on fire? Law school is expensive. Whatever issues there are with art programs, there's definitely better and worse choices. Diana is completely blowing that up. The promise was unreasonable to ask for and make in the first place. Not the asshole. Your wife needs to learn that your daughter is her own person. Not her mini-me or a do-over. Until your wife sees and comprehends that a fight and going NC was always going to happen. At least this way, you can keep your daughter in your life and have some hope of reconciliation in the future. Instead of having her resent the both of you and going NC with everyone. As for financial decisions, your wife unilaterally broke the disagreement when she said your daughter can't use the college funds without your input. Why should she have any say on your own personal funds on top of it? Not the asshole. You're doing the right thing for your daughter instead of sitting by and letting her mother toxically dictate the direction of your daughter's life. Having been in a similar situation, I wish my dad had had the same sense of care and helped me with my studies that my mother objected to. Keep being a great dad to her. She'll never forget that you stood up for her when she needed you. So Diana is withholding school money because her kid doesn't want to be a lawyer. NTA. Am I the asshole for now allowing dogs anymore at my cookouts? Almost 4 months ago my wife and I had our first child, and we've been very low particular about who has been around him. Now that we are more comfortable around our son ourselves, we are open to having friends and family come around a bit more. Over Memorial Day weekend we planned a pool party cookout and invited a lot of friends and family to meet our son. Many of them met him for the first time. My brother lives a 3-4 hour drive away and has not met our son. He has not met his nephew because his work schedule is fairly seasonal and his job slows down significantly in May. Pre-baby we held pool parties frequently and he'd regularly drive into town for them with his German Shepherd. I'm indifferent about his dog. I'd never want the responsibility of one myself. But his dog is fine. He'd always ask about bringing his dog to parties and I laid down some rules. For him, he had to clean up after it. It stayed outside. And it wasn't allowed in the pool. Outside of 1 or 2 instances over the years we've had problems. Now the issue here is that I don't want his dog to come over anymore because of our son. I informed him ahead of time of this new rule and he was pissed. He says everyone loves his dog. And it's never been an issue. I told him things are different now. We have a young kid. I told him I've only ever seen his dog around adults. Never children. It's not worth the risk for me. If God forbid something happened it would destroy our relationship. I asked him if he could leave the dog at home this time. He called me an asshole and said he wasn't coming. You are going to pass on meeting your nephew because I won't allow your dog anymore. You can't go one party without him. He said it's the principle of it all and it's bullshit that I've changed up the rules on him. Well, the party came and went and it was great. But we are still having issues. I got tons of questions about my brother and told them he had to be with his dog this weekend and left it at that. I was mad he wasn't there and I think people could tell when discussing him. Am I the asshole for my new rule? Nah. You're a new parent. Of course you're worried about your kid. He's not an asshole for deciding not to come. Though. He lives far away. He'd have to leave his dog for a long time. Nah. Your house, your rules. If you're not a dog person, then I can see it. I know that people can get nervous around my dogs even though they are much better with kids than adults. X200B. But he's far away. And leaving a dog for that long is hard. He'd probably be able to come down, visit for an hour and then have to drive back to take care of his dog again. X200B. Would you be okay if he came to visit with his dog? But not during a big party. That would be easier for you to keep an eye on your child and the dog and how they interact. Nah, your house. Your rules. Do I think you're overreacting? Yes. But it's still your house and up to you to decide. I'm not going to blame him for being pissed and not going either. Nah. I have a dog I'd love to bring everywhere with me but I don't because dogs don't belong everywhere with me. You're a first-time parent and clearly not a dog guy, which is more than okay. It makes sense to not want your kid around a dog. He's entitled to not come if he can't bring his dog. He didn't force the dog onto you or tell you that he's bringing the dog anyway. He couldn't bring his dog. So he didn't come. That's his right. I'd say nah. I don't have kids so I don't know if you're being overprotective or if no dogs is normal policy. Either way it's your house and your party so your rules. However, if those rules don't work for him then that's fine too. He respects your rules and that means he's not there. The dog is outside. And the kid is only 4 months old. How would the dog have access to the baby? Nah. He shouldn't have called you an R and you shouldn't have shown others that you were mad at him. I have turned down family Christmas and every other family gathering out of my area for almost 2 years because my cat required daily sub-Q fluids for her chronic kidney disease. My family understood. I was all set on nah until you say at the end that you're mad at him. I think you are fine to be paranoid about dogs at this stage of your kid's life. I think he is reasonable to not want to leave his dog home alone for 10 hours. To be mad at each other and refuse to see the other's viewpoint pushes me really close to ESH. You both need to show some empathy. Nah, only because he may not be able to leave the dog for that long. You have every right to not want the dog around your baby. However, the dog is his responsibility and he may not be able to visit as much because he can't leave the dog alone for so long. Info: did your brother say anything about being unable to find a dog sitter on such short notice? Or in any way indicate that he needed to bring the dog with him for practical reasons rather than just personal preference? Nah. But saying you'd never want the responsibility of a dog and then having a whole human made me lol. I mean, your house, your rules. But also, don't be surprised if he tells you in the future to make sure you leave your baby at home because he doesn't feel comfortable with you bringing it around his dog. Kids who don't know animals tend to be more aggressive with them. You laid down your boundaries. Brother laid down his. He doesn't get to be mad that you are prioritizing your child over his dog. Equally, you don't get to be mad that he is prioritizing his dog over your child. Everyone has different priorities and it is unfair to judge someone else's priorities for not aligning with your own. Your house. Your rules. But you suck for being pissed he's not coming. You set the boundary. He made his choice off of the new rules. He sucks for getting mad. It doesn't matter whether or not he agrees with the rule because it's not his property. He should have just said that he wasn't coming because it wasn't fair to leave his dog for 12 hours in the kennel and left it at that. You're the asshole not for making the rule. Your house, your rules. Don't complain when people who don't want to follow those rules decided not to come over. You procreated. Congratulations. But not everyone finds that a priority. Kid is your priority and the dog is your brother's. You were the one who drew the line in the sand and you were bitching because your brother stayed on the other side. I'm a dog person and dislike children. You're definitely nah. Your house. Your rules. It's completely understandable that you are nervous about having a dog near your child if you don't know how that dog interacts with children. No. Nah. You never know how a dog or a child will react to a first meet. Do, however, make time to have a meet and greet with the two of them. You're the asshole. I was nah right up to here. You are going to pass on meeting your nephew because I won't allow your dog anymore. Yes. He is. And your attempt to pass some sort of negative moral judgment on him is laughable. He's allowed to not want to leave his dog alone for, let's see, 12 hours. You can't go one party without him. The problem with this weak attempt at shaming somebody into compliance is that it works the other way, too. You can't go one party without leaving your, let's see, 4-month-old son in a crib inside with a baby monitor. Nah. You have the right to decide if you want or not a dog in your home. But driving basically 8 hours round trip and leave my dog unattended for that long would be a no from me, so I would ski. Am I the asshole for booking a hotel that meant my family couldn't tag along on my holiday to Japan? I think this whole situation is ridiculous. But I've been receiving a lot of anger and criticism, so I'm posting here. My family likes to come along on any holidays one of the members is having. Someone mentions they're going on vacation. They all suggest to make it a family trip reunion. And I have a large family with a lot of younger cousins, nieces and nephews. Which can get really overwhelming because I'm autistic. Something they don't get and call me rude for whenever I leave early at events. I booked plane tickets to Japan for this upcoming July a while ago. Since I've always wanted to visit. My hotel is a women's only capsule hotel. Something I chose deliberately because it's a cheaper and I feel much safer in women's only accommodation. Especially since I'm traveling alone to a country I've never been to. I was invited to my niece's birthday recently. And stated that I wouldn't be able to attend. I initially tried not to disclose the reason as I knew they'd try and make it a family trip. I do this whenever I go on holiday and don't tell them until I'm already gone. However, I got pressured for the reason a lot and eventually had to say that I'd be on holiday then in Japan. Immediately, my aunt was like, "Oh, what hotel are you staying at? We'll book rooms too and make it a big family summer holiday." At this point, I realized that they probably wouldn't be able to book the same capsule hotel I was in as the rooms. A single person and women only. So I went ahead and told them anyway. Well, one of my family members must have looked it up and told the rest of them this. Because I got a barrage of texts saying how dare I not make my vacation inclusive of them and that I was being incredibly selfish. I snapped back in our group chat and said that I was sick of them inviting themselves on every single holiday. That just because we're family we don't need to spend all our time off together. And that I would most certainly not be welcoming of them trying to do anything with me on my solo vacation to a country I've been wanting to visit for many years. That I have paid for myself. Not to mention, on previous family trips, I've been stuck babysitting my younger family because I'm the youngest adult. Long story short, everyone is blowing up my phone now for what I said. Am I the asshole? They're the ones being selfish here. When was the last time you had a vacation for yourself? Not the asshole. Not the asshole. This is just weird. Is everyone in your family super rich that they can just drop all their plans at the drop of the hat and follow you around the world on any vacation you take? Big not the asshole. There's literally no way in hell you're the bad guy here. You're an adult. You can make plans by yourself. Whenever you want. On your own terms. They're literally inviting themselves and then getting mad you're not being accommodating to them. On your trip. God forbid you want to know a different country at your own pace. Doing whatever you like by yourself. Not the asshole. Not by a mile. Not the asshole. But you could have a lot of fun with this. Next time. Maybe you want to visit Paris. You make reservations at the Ritz or the George V. Family. Hey. Prestigious nothing. Where are you going next? PN Mogadishu. Somalia. Please come with me. Family, have fun. Not the asshole. We all need time away from family. Plus it's your holiday, not theirs. Not the asshole. You're an adult and have every right to go enjoy your vacation your way. Go have a great time and PS I am jealous. Since when does every vacation have to turn into a family reunion? It sounds like a situation where one might need a vacation from that vacation if it's frequent enough. Not the asshole. A solo vacation sounds fun. Stay safe. Not the asshole. Your family is not entitled to know your vacation plans. You're not obligated to travel with them at all. It sounds like you're setting boundaries and your family is ignoring them. Start blocking their numbers if they keep harassing you. Enjoy your holiday, Queen. Not the asshole you got a vacation for yourself because it's somewhere you want to go. If they want to have family vacations like this, then they need to schedule and not just tag along to whoever is already planning one. The whole time I was reading this, I thought, why would your family be so insistent on coming with you on your vacation? Until, on previous trips, I've been stuck babysitting my younger family because I'm the youngest adult. Ah, I see. They want to piggyback on your vacation so they can have fun while you're stuck with the kids as the free babysitter. I guarantee that if they tagged along, you wouldn't see 1 minute of the city. Not the asshole op. You did good. Ugh, not the asshole. Who is your family that they just invite themselves along on other people's vacations? Yikes. Not the asshole, but please send them a postcard telling them how wonderful it is. Petty. Yes. Satisfying. Heck yes. Not the asshole. You planned a vacation for yourself. You planned it to be just you. They are mad because they can't join your solo mission. It's BS. You need alone time and they need to figure out how to accept the fact that alone time away from family is good. Just because you travel without your family doesn't mean you love them any less. Not the asshole. Enjoy your vacation. Your family is using you as an unpaid servant and enjoying the power trip. Ignore them and enjoy yourself. Simple solution: block all their numbers and enjoy the peace and quiet. Not the asshole. Not the asshole. I would have given them a country that you weren't going to. So instead of Japan, I would have said Denmark and looked up a hotel in a random city. Who's going to go to the B-Day party if they all crash your vacation? Not the asshole. This is one of the most intrusive family I've ever read about on Reddit. Not the asshole. It's your holiday, which you are certainly entitled to, and they're not invited. Even better that they can't make it a big family holiday because of your hotel choice. Not the asshole. A useful phrase for angry relations. I said what I meant. And I meant what I said. And if you're so terrible, why do they want to follow you to the Far East? Not the asshole. Also, food recommendations for Japan: eat 80 of you meals from 7-Eleven, cheap and still yummy, then the other 20 splurge. Trust me, it's worth the money to have tempura made fresh in front of you. Obviously not the asshole. It's insane to think you can just join any family member's holiday. Just say they're entitled and you need to be paid for babysitting. Not the asshole. If they ask, lie to them about where you're going, so they can book a vacation somewhere else. Not the asshole. I'm so thankful every day that I am not from a family like this and didn't marry into one like this. I couldn't even imagine a bunch of people in my business constantly and trying to impose these strange rules and customs. How fucking exhausting. Don't these people have jobs or anything to do? Girl on the plane fell asleep on my arm. I was flying across the Atlantic from the US to the UK last night. It was the first international flight I've done by myself. I wound up sitting next to a girl who was around the same age as me. A couple hours into the flight, I finished my movie and tried to get some sleep. When I woke up about 30 minutes later, the girl was lying with her back up against my arm. IDKY, but I found it cute that she was using my arm as a pillow like that. I spent the next hour or so trying to be as still as possible so as not to wake her up. She probably doesn't even know that she was doing it. But I was pretty stressed, and having someone that close really helped me out. I didn't talk to her other than to offer her my in-flight snack, gross, since she didn't get one. Just a nice moment I thought I'd put out there. I was flying from Chicago to Beijing and my seatmate kept drinking milk. Glass after glass of milk. Then she fell asleep on my shoulder. But she had the nastiest milk breath and I let her sleep anyway even though my eyes watered and I mouth breathed for a long time. I was on a work trip where a teenage girl who was traveling with classmates fell asleep on the shoulder of the adult male I was traveling with. Her friends thought it was hilarious. But he was absolutely terrified. He tried to wake her up. And when that didn't work, he kept his hands visible on the back of the seat in front of him for a solid hour until she woke. I have a weird question for such a situation because I was in one. I was on a school trip. And we were returning by bus. And I was sitting beside this girl who fell asleep. Head on my shoulder. Later, the staff passed snacks on the bus as it was a long journey. My question is, should I wake up the person in said situation or keep the snack for later and let them sleep? I think in my case the girl wouldn't wake up. So I kept her snack for later. But sometimes I think what was the right thing to do. One time when I was a teenager, I fell asleep on an older gentleman's arm on a flight much like you're describing op. I felt terrible afterwards. Because I never would have consciously done that to a stranger. I apologized and the man said don't worry. I have kids your age. And it was just such a sweet moment of kindness from a stranger. Happened to me once on a flight from AKL to LAX. Some girl near my age fell asleep in our own row and her head basically fell onto the edge of my lap. It was adorable. I felt like I was finally someone felt comfortable and safe within one of their vulnerable moments. All the feels. She woke up an hour before we landed and I think she was embarrassed. Because she did not acknowledge it or even talk to me after lol. I kind of did this one time. Except I was on an aisle seat. And instead of leaning onto the person next to me I leaned over into the middle aisle and started drooling. Meet cute. I had to pull an all-nighter before a flight into Atlanta and pass out on this old Southern black lady. I woke up hugging her and was mortified. I apologized and she just said it's okay honey. Looked like you needed it. I hope she is doing well. This is how I thought I'll get the love of my life. On its first solo flight from Maine to Florida with a connection in NC. Was terrified of flights' takeoffs and landings. Grabbed the arm test so hard only to realize after takeoff was over I had actually also snagged a finger of the girl. I apologize repeatedly and felt like a creep but she said it was okay and she okay and could tell I needed it. Long story short, accidentally grabbed a girl's hand in the plane. Went and got sushi at the airport. She has a camp in Maine near my parents' place. We have smashed once a year since. Flew from LA to Chicago once when I was 21 and ended up sitting next an older lady maybe mid-30s. And the flight attendant mistakenly assumed she was my mother. Rest of the flight we kinda played along with it to mess with the staff whenever they came by. Had a few short conversations but I don't even remember her name. I was on a train once. And this vicar sits down next to me. Sounds like the start of a joke. But no. It wasn't. He proceeds to nod off and start drooling with his mouth wide open. Thankfully not over me. But kinda in the vicinity. So much so that I had to kind of angle my legs. Just in case. He then proceeded to snore in the most ungodly way. I don't think he's being let in, to be honest. Unintentionally adorable. Everyone sharing nice moments with strangers on flights here. My last flight I just fought with my seatmates, an older couple, about whether or not to keep the blinds open. The flight before that, a stinky British guy took off his shoes and burped for 11 hours straight. Maybe someday I'll have a nice solo flight, lol. Congratulations, you're officially not a creep. I love this, very cute. Kismet. Almost she may not have realized what she was doing, but you both benefited. She slept. You felt less anxiety. Men are so hungry for physical affection that it makes me a little sad. Make sure to hug your friends, husbands, boyfriends, etc. I got randomly hugged by an old lady at an event one time, and it made me realize I missed my ex. Something about human touch. I fell asleep on a flight one time and my buddy snapped a picture of me and the stranger next to me, with our heads leaned together. So funny that like both of us just wanted to sleep and neither noticed. Once on a flight from Japan to San Francisco, I fell asleep. My 5-year-old son decided to put stickers on the man next to us. I was mortified. Luckily he was awesome about it. I fell asleep on a long-distance bus once, while I was sitting next to a guy my age. My head didn't go his way though, lol, it went the other way and hit the window with a sharp thonk sound. It startled both of us and we ended up talking for 2 hours all the way home. Not a life-changing connection or anything, but memorable. Oh no. I accidentally slept on a random guy's shoulder on a very long overnight flight from Washington last month. When I woke up and realized I was so embarrassed, I pretended to still be asleep and rolled over to the other side. My kid and this older lady basically fell asleep like that together for the entire 13-hour flight. It was exceptionally cute. The last time I flew international, this happened to me. This girl just snuggled into me the entire flight. I don't think we ever spoke until we landed. And after the plane landed, I helped her get her bags and waved goodbye. It was surprisingly wholesome cuddling with a random stranger. It's amazing how sweet a small moment in life can be, isn't it? I'm glad you had this. I always get stressed on flights. Once when flying to Las Vegas, I was sat next to a black woman my age. I tried to spark up a conversation to help me get through the stress, but she completely showed no interest in talking to me. Eventually she passed out on my shoulder and snored in my ear. It was weird and awkward, but also kinda cute. Flying international in the early 80s, a girl fall asleep over my shoulder. Didn't dare to wake her up. Till she woke up. We are friends till today. Living in different countries. I remember when I was on trip with train. I was so embarrassed when I slept with my head going down until touching knee of the girl in front of me. I tried to hold up my body, but I just couldn't control it when I was sleeping.